as part of its efforts to intervene on the challenging role of private creditors in Nigeria's debt crisis and strengthening tax systems to improve debt management and sustainability in Nigeria, the Christian Aid and Nigeria had organized intervention program in Abuja, which aimed at providing solutions to Nigeria debt crisis. Speaking on the significance of the workshop, some of the participants of the program have this to say.
To mark the end of this phase of our intervention, of challenging the role of private creditors in Nigeria's debt crisis and strengthening tax system to improve debt management and sustainability in Nigeria. As we know, Nigeria is facing probably its worst economic situation in decades, marked by a consistent decline in federal government revenue over the last half decade. This alarming trend is evident by substantial shortfalls in revenue, with deficit ranging from 31% to as high as 50% in the years spanning between 2018 and 2023. Concurrently, Nigeria's overall debt burden skyrocketed. Christian in Nigeria, through its implementing partners, Civil Society, Legislative Advocacy Center, and the Tax Justice and Governance Platform Network, undertook a 2-year debt justice campaign. The campaign produced 2 knowledge materials that highlighted the increasing role of private sector creditors in Nigeria's debt crisis and its human and social cost, and the implication of poor tax expenditure governance on debt management. Both documents informed our sensitization, capacity building, and advocacy engagements with diverse stakeholders on the demand and supply side, with a view to building a consensus around supporting policy shifts that promote fiscal prudence and effective public finance management. While these efforts have resulted in considerable raising public consciousness and a sense of urgency from policymakers around these concerns, and as we hope towards a third iteration of the project, we are happy to share our journey and achievement while also learning from you, our partners, related work you have done in your respective interventions with a view to advancing a collective agenda towards strengthening the debt transparency and accountability in Nigeria and reducing our over-reliance on borrowing.
We are trying to work across various levels. Now, at the global level, we are working towards seeing how we can contribute to a more effective or satisfactory multilateral debt relief mechanism and a sovereign debt workout mechanism. Of course, I'm trying to take out time to explain what some of these terms mean, particularly for low-income countries. Now, so for countries like Nigeria and a lot of other low-income countries, there has been a need for us to have that opportunity at the table to discuss ways to restructure our debts or to access debt reliefs. So when we say a multilateral debt relief mechanism, you're basically looking at a way to probably write off debts. So if you recall what happened to the Paris Club under the Obasanjo regime, and then when you're talking of a sovereign debt workout mechanism, you're speaking more towards restructuring your debts. So restructuring your debts would be an opportunity to extend your repayment period, amongst other mechanisms or arrangements like that. So it's basically just reviewing the repayments, arrangements, or agreements.
First and foremost, we want to appreciate Christian Aid for supporting the smooth implementation of this project. And we also want to urge us all, as we are gathered here, to contribute actively to set the next agenda for these projects. So we have both CISLAC and other partners with Christian Aid and International Project Partnership, and even Oxfam has been working on. We have tax for service. You see, the masses, they need to see the reason why they need to pay their taxes. And the reasons are large. You go to markets, you see that there are women that modern baby, they don't have the facilities like daycare, they don't have, like women, they don't have good sanitary system for toilet facilities, there's no good health care, there's no primary education. So if people begin to see that our taxes are being used, government identify some key markets, establish toilets, establish clinic, establish schools, build roads, and label it that this is your tax. And I'm also encouraging the government to go into automation of taxation. People should be at their comfort zone to pay taxes. E-governance, the government should be able to monitor and see the amount that each area council in FCT, the 774 local government taxes are paying. So there should be automation of payments. I don't need to go to IRS office to pay my tax. I should be able to sit in my office or in my shop to click on the app and pay my tax. So I believe with this, and we've done this in Cross River State, and in fact we are receiving so many testimonies that they got about 200 million, but because of this automation, they have realized close to 400 million naira. So I believe the federal government going into automation of taxpayers, people will be excited, and also they should use the tax for people to see.
The reason why this is important is because we know that Nigeria is in a very difficult economic situation as we speak. So we have to consciously manage our economic situation so that we don't inflict more pain on ordinary citizens through borrowing. And that's why for us for the last 2 years, we've done some work to really understand Nigeria's debt profile and its implication on ordinary citizens, and what we can do differently to ensure that we can change that paradigm. So this meeting today is to further the dialogue with civil society organizations to understand where we are, and also to understand what other people are doing in this area of work, so that we can collectively, and engaging with government to, determine a path forward on how we that we want to see for ordinary citizens. It doesn't affect our investment in education. It doesn't affect our investment in health and other sectors that are important to ordinary citizens in Nigeria. So that's why we are here, is to really create a platform to engender that conversation to move it forward. I think we're in a difficult situation. But I don't think it's impossible, to really plan and map out a way forward to get out of it over a period of time. I know there are other engaging advocacies going on, not just in Nigeria, but even regionally and globally, around issues around debt forgiveness and so on, not just for Nigeria, but for a number of African countries. But it's important that we also internally think through what ways we can really manage our debt profile that will not affect us on the long term like it did in the early 2000s.
Nigerians at both public and private institutions were advised to consider tax payment as a priority, as it's the pillar of nation development. Juliet Johnson, ENTV, Abuja.